It's amazing,
he
right?
Was, but Jack was wonderful to work with. Easygoing. Both he and Gene Wilder, no drama. If anything, they took the drama on the set and made it workable for all of us. But when I was cast for the film, they had me sing. I am not a singer. And they said, don't worry, we'll use somebody else's voice, we'll dub. And so originally, I've Got a Golden Ticket, my singing part, when they heard me sing, got whittled down. So Jack carried that, pretty much that tune, but when we first got to Germany, that's what we started working on, he and Jack, with the dance number, the song. And so working with Jack was wonderful.
All right, and again, here you are at 12 years old, and you were all about that same age, correct?
I was 11.
11, all right.
She turned 13 on the day that she got her golden egg.
All right, so, wow. Well, so working with these big Hollywood stars at the time, were you intimidated by them? Did they make you, they take the time with you to make you sit and feel at ease?
Yeah, immediately, Gene Wilder, I met him, he gave me a big hug. You know, I knew right away that this was going to be somebody that would be easy to work with. But they were, you know, in many, these two and Rusty had much more experience than I did. So Gene and Jack, you know, really helped me, you know, develop the character, but just, you know, diffuse the situation. It was not difficult.
Yeah, and for you, what was, for both of you down there at the end, what was it like working with, like, Gene?
Okay, no, agreed. Gene was a lovely guy. Jack Albertson was probably the nicest guy on set. Very funny. He goes all the way back to vaudeville, and he was an Oscar winner, as you said. But no, a very sweet guy. The woman who played my mother, whose name was Dodo Denny, also great. I think her dad was probably the funniest guy on set.
Brilliant actor, Roy Kinnear. I was probably, thank you, yes, for Roy.
Right.
And a lovely man too, really lovely. But he kind of, as all our parents did, they kind of parentized us and looked after us. But I was more starstruck by some of the British cast because I was familiar with them. The woman that played my mother, who doesn't even get a credit, Pat Coombs, famous comedian, yeah. She was a famous comedian in the UK, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's my mother, but she doesn't even get credit. So, you know, Tim Brooke Taylor, the computer salesman, I'm now telling the computer exactly what it can do with a lifetime supply of chocolate. So I was more starstruck by them. I wasn't so familiar with Gene and Jack, not coming from the UK. So, yeah, but meeting Roy, my dad, you know, I'd seen him in the Beatles movie. And think, oh, you know, he's worked with the Beatles. That was incredible.
Yeah, too bad they didn't stop by.
Well, that could have been a whole other wing of the movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this question up to all four of you. The first time you got into the chocolate factory, when did you see being actresses? Did you see it at that moment, or did you see it a little bit later on? And what was your first thoughts of seeing the wonder of that setting?
So I saw it when you saw it. When that door opened was the first time.
So they wanted your eyes, the pop.
Exactly.
Same. And?
However, I'd seen it before. But I didn't dare tell anybody because I'd been out there, you know, to record my song a month or so before we got to that scene. And whilst there, one of the set designers said, did I want to see around the chocolate room? So of course I said yes. So he showed me all around. It wasn't finished. And then we got the message from Mel Stewart that everything had to be shut down and we weren't allowed to see it and it had to be a big secret. So I didn't tell him. I did tell him 35 years later when he was telling this story again about the surprise and how proud he was that it was our first reaction. I thought, I can't listen to this story anymore knowing the truth. So I told him, I said, I had seen it. His language was colourful. I'm not gonna repeat it here because there are young ears. it was colourful.
Yeah, now that set full of candy and chocolate. Was there chocolate that you could actually eat? Did they stash that in? Because I know a lot of it was decoration.
Everything that we ate in the chocolate room was real. But if we didn't put it in our mouth, it probably wasn't a problem.
Except
wallpaper. Yeah. Wallpaper tasted like wallpaper.
And again, you all had your walk-offs, you know, your moments. But Rusty, I got to ask you too. I mean, the set for you as you walked in did you get to experience that, or did?
Yeah, we'd seen the set earlier because the Oomps had to go in there to do a bit of choreography to what we were doing with the song. And so
you had to do all that creaming and sugaring.
Photograph. Have we got a good one? Good. All we need now is an enlargement.
Right.
Yeah, so we'd seen it before, but it was absolutely brilliant. I've never been on a set yet where it blew my mind, that chocolate river, that chocolate factory, the room. It was amazing. And clever. And designed by a guy called Goffe, who was, he designed nearly all of Disneyland.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that chocolate river, what was it actually made from, the river itself?
Water.
Just water?
Michael Bullner, who played Augustus Gloop, who fell in it. Shame, Michael was very poorly at the moment. Else he would have been over here with us. He'd tell you, well, what's water like, Michael? That's stinky water.
Dirty old stinky water.
It really was, because we were pouring real sugar and real cream into it. And with the hot lights, and after about 8 weeks, it was going very funny.
Yeah.
Surprised no one it wouldn't pass health and safety this day.
No, there would have been a delay, just like coming in today here, right? To get it all in. For the rest of you, were you big chocolate fans?
No.
So you were not, Julie?
I did not like chocolate.
So then, you know, we do a television show, and a lot of times we're eating on set, and there are times when you're like, it just doesn't hit your taste buds, especially when we get to eat it, it's cold. What was your experience like when you had to eat chocolate?
Well, I had to eat the stuff that was in the watermelon in the Pure Imagination room, and it was disgusting. It was sort of cold, wet, slimy, chocolate-flavoured nastiness. So I didn't enjoy that.
Eh? Stinky water.
Stinky water. Dirty, cold, stinky water. So no, I did not like the stuff that I had to eat. I didn't mind some of the other stuff, but you got all the bubble gum.
I had gumballs, which I was a little disappointed in, actually. I was hoping for something a little tastier, but, you know, I got gumballs in that room. My favorite one was actually Violet's 3-course meal, which they combined a couple, like a toffee with another nice thing, and I kept going to the prop guy and asking for more of them, and about the 3rd or 4th time, he was like, we need some to make the movie, so we have to, he cut me off. But there was a department where they made cool little things out of marzipan, and yeah, you know, I mean, just to take a step back, to be in a film in Europe for the first time I'd ever traveled to Europe, where we got rewarded for bad behavior, where we were surrounded by tasty treats, with Gene, with the music, with the writing by Roald Dahl. If you're going to be in a movie as an 11-year-old, I recommend that this is the movie. I'm very happy to have ever been in it, and it's been a very positive thing in my life ever since.
All right, in a few moments we're going to let the audience ask some questions, but I got to ask you too, there was a bee room. Who let the bees out?
The bee rumor is possibly just a rumor. I can't 100%. So, all right, we're talking about the bees in the inventing room.
They got out.
They're inside. They're under a bell jar, and the theory, the apocryphal theory, is that I let them out. I don't remember doing it. I would have had to climb all the way up onto the machine to then lift up this bell jar that was almost as big as I.
You could have done it.
I could have done it. I could have lifted it like this. I don't remember doing it. Sorry.
All right, well, that's always... Did you get bit?
You did it?
I remember.
You remember what, seeing me do
All
it?
the bees coming out. We were all ducking.
Yeah, sure.
That would just make even more of a movie, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your walk-off scenes. Julie, what was yours like? Tell everybody, so everybody remembers too, what you did wrong to get kicked out of the chocolate factory.
Well, actually, I didn't do anything wrong. I was the only one that didn't steal any candy at all. So therefore, I should have inherited the factory.
I think Charlie would have something to say.
And I was the last to go before
I was
Charlie.
robbed. Charlie stole the fizzy lifting
He did.
drinks and he got away with it. He should have gone then.
I did take the exploding
Did the
candy.
exploding gum.
Yeah,
I did not steal anything. I was, I was a brat, yeah. But, actually...
Just general bad
it was
behavior.
I just think it was health and safety, and my father should have sued them for not putting a safety
You probably did.
But Charlie confessed his sins and was rewarded. Just saying.
Yes.
It should have been me. Should have been mine.
And Paris, what about
No,
your
I was
walk-off?
just going to say that I think that it really came down less to what we did in the factory and more to what we would have done with the gobstopper. And Miss, I crossed my fingers behind the van. And then I have a line about, do you think Slugworth would pay extra for this? I think it really is more about the gobstopper than whether or not we stole anything. But, that's, when I left, my walk-off thing happens in the purse. They throw me into the purse. I have a bunch of lines that I say in the purse that you can't hear. I'm actually doing things like I'm spreading the lipstick all up inside of your purse, and I'm taking your brush and your comb and I'm bending it, and I'm like destroying the inside of a purse. But of course all you hear is vish, 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 vish. Yeah, I'm actually doing stuff in there when I'm walked away.
All right, and of course at the end, you get launched out of the chocolate factory as well.
So in a good way.
It was sort of on the line whether you were going to get the factory, especially with that big scene with Grandpa Joe.
So when my favorite scene, or one of my favorite scenes, is Charlie giving back the gobstopper. And Gene, so shines a good deed in a weary world, which pretty much sums up the whole movie.
It did perfectly. It really did.
I don't think Peter's going to mention this.
No,
so I'm going to mention it.
Right,
Hold out your arm. This is new. This is about a
new.
year old.
He said he just had this
Here,
done.
just let's see. Look, so shines a good deed in a weary world.
I'm going to tell you the story with that. Pete wanted to get a tattoo, and his wife said, "No way." And she said, "Well, okay, only if everybody does it." We still didn't do it.
He came to me next. He said, "Paris, I think we should get a tattoo." And honestly, I've been to 74 countries. I'm kind of the adventurous one. And here's Dr. Ostrum coming to me and saying, "I think we should get a tattoo." And I was like, "Really, Peter? Really? Okay, all right, well, let's talk about it." And then we were in Manchester. I couldn't find the guy that I wanted. I asked her. She was like, "No. Absolutely, let me out of it entirely, no interest." Michael was the same. I'm getting mine next. It's not a Wonka tattoo, but in about a month and a half, I'm getting one in Beijing. There's going to be one here and one here. It's not Wonka related, but
Make
it's
sure you
coming.
spell it properly.
Peter,
We've
I
all
found
seen
a
those bad tattoos.
It's going to be like a whole sleeve.
No, it's just a band. I mean, I can't show you all what it's going to be, but maybe eventually you'll see pictures. But he doesn't know. In Beijing, I found a woman that does great tattoos. It's coming. It's happening.
And let me ask Rusty, what was your favorite walk-off song that you had to perform?
Well, it's all the songs were the same, really. Just different.
Just different
lyrics.
settings.
Oompa Loompa, what do you do? I've got another puzzle for it, and so on and so on. It was lovely. I haven't got a tattoo.
After the tattoo.
No, I haven't got a tattoo. Peter, as you said, he was a veterinarian surgeon in upstate New York. Yeah, Did you have the tattoo done when you put the rubber glove on up there? Or did it give the cow something to read?
It's a distraction.
It's gone off.
All right, I know you're going to be meeting a lot of folks.
Shall we go now?
Yeah. Well, you're going to be meeting folks again. You're going to be over there in a few moments. But I want to open up some questions to the audience right now. I don't think you'll mind, right? So let's see if we can get some help. All right. If you come over there, I see right there. If you could stand up, and we'll give you a microphone so everybody can hear you.
Hi, I am so happy to meet everybody. Veruca, you're my favorite.
It's a woman of taste.
It is. How was it like working with Denise?
Denise, yeah, we miss Denise.
Yes,
you know, she was like my sister. So we're very sad that she's no longer with us. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. I was very in awe of Denise because she'd done movies before and she lived in New York and she had that beautiful hair that her sister would put in rags every night because it was dead straight, but it made it curly for the movie. And she used to have a little record player that was in the bedroom in our hotel, and we would dance to David Cassidy, the Carpenters, and so that was my memory of that. Just kind of, you know, being a roomie with Denise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
Roy Kinnear in Made for All Seasons.
Yes.
My memory too.
Thank you.
All right. There's a couple of people right over here if you would like. Next question. I'm going to go to the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right here.
Is it? Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Here. Yeah.
Let's
my,
go.
My question is, I remember that scene just so well, where you're in the ferry going through the tunnel.
Yeah.
And it scared me, like, to this day. And I'm wondering, as children, were you scared of that scene? And what in the world was the purpose of that scene? That terrifying thing with the chicken getting his head cut off and the skeleton. It was just so scary. And I'm wondering what was in the director's mind, if you know, at all.
I don't know what was in the director's mind. I dread to think. But it was pretty scary, and I seem to recall that there were other images that we saw that got cut because they were too nasty. But we had to sit and watch that stuff for a week. Yeah, so you did. But yeah, it was pretty horrible. And of course, we didn't know how Gene was going to deliver the speech. So we'd seen it on paper, but then when he loses it, that was pretty scary. Yeah.
All right, let's get another question. Probably use a couple of microphones. Oh, we got a mic over here. There you go.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Nicole. So recently, in the last handful of years, there's been this new kind of cultural thing that's come up about Grandpa Joe hate for being in bed and totally just popping up and being like, I'm going to the chocolate factory instead of, having a job and supporting his family. And I wonder what y'all's thoughts are on the Grandpa Joe
moral
hate
side of it all.
conspiracy.
Totally agree. Totally agree. There he is, that lazy man. You know, he manages to somehow get tobacco, and they're having cabbage water. I mean, really? And then I have issues with you because you should have taken your mother. Should have. There's that poor woman doing all the laundry, and then you go and take Grandpa Joe. I mean, she could have had a new hat, a new dress, lipstick. No, you go and take that old wastrel. So, Grandpa Joe, sniff of a chocolate bar and he's out of bed suddenly.
All right, let's get another question. It's the mic over here. Let's grab somebody over there really quick. All right, your question?
So this is for Veronica. Veronica.
See, I started something bad, didn't I?
Don't worry, I'll forgive you. I won't forgive him, but I'll forgive you. Veruca, yeah.
Yeah, Veruca. Your
Think ward. Think ward. That's what a Veruca is.
Veruca is Planter's wart.
Your exit scene when you were chosen as a bad egg. What actually happened? Because the sign said bad, and you just went down, and we didn't know what else happened.
No.
and then your dad went with you.
Yep.
So what actually happened with you two?
Well, depending on the age of the person that asked me that question, I went to the furnace. But no, happily it wasn't lit, so I was okay. But actually, reality, I landed on some cardboard boxes and some mattresses. Yeah, it's not very glamorous, is it? But yeah, I did do the fall. It was a bit scary, but not too bad. I wanted to do it again, but they wouldn't let me. I only did it once.
All right, right on over here. If you could stand up, that way we can see you. Thank you.
Hey guys, how you going? This question is for Peter. Well, first of all, thanks very much for coming. It's a really big deal for everyone here today, so we really do appreciate it. My question is for Peter, if you don't mind. There's a scene with your mum in the movie, and where she sings the song "Cheer Up, Charlie." It's special to me, and in that scene, I just wanted to ask how your relationship was with your mother at that time in the movie.
Sure. So, the actress Diana Soul was lovely.
She was lovely.
Her husband, actually, years later, we discovered worked for the CIA, and that's why they were in Germany. And she was an actress, and they hired her in Germany. Lovely person. That was kind of a neat scene to shoot because we did it at night. And it was, well, you folks weren't there, but it was the first scene that we had done where we were all working at night, and it kind of a lengthy process, you know, when she's doing the laundry, and then that scene of Charlie walking when Cheer Up Charlie is playing. But she was lovely, you know, just all the individuals on this film were very easy to work with.
Can I just add, with Diana Soul, the lovely lady, the very first time we were all reunited was actually in Boston.
Yeah.
So we owe a lot to Boston, thank you. In this room. And that was some 27 years later, something
1998.
98, yeah, so a long time later. So Diana Soul and I were getting ready to go and have dinner. Mel Stewart was there with us as well, and he was very shouty as a director. We were all terrified of him. And we were just, you know, she was ironing her blouse in my room, and she said, "I don't know why we're all so nervous. He can't fire us now." So she was a sweet lady, sweet lady.
All right, let's grab another question over front row, nice and easy.
I had the pleasure of meeting most of you over there already, so I thank you. I just wanted to say that for many of us, it isn't just a movie. For a lot of us, we grew up in terrible situations and abusive homes, and movies like this and the Brady Bunch, which I already talked about, were a moment for some of us to have respite from a horrible world that we lived in. So your work was not just acting, your work was actually feeding the populace a little bit of freedom and a little bit of peace of mind. So I thank all of you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's right. I mean, back then, we had the Brady Bunch. You know, we had a handful of television stations. That was it. So we had to get up and change the channel. So much easier now. All right, let's find another question on this side over here. That's the mic. So right there, one of those is fine.
So many questions.
Hi, good to see you all again. Ben and I actually were here the last time when you got together here for the first time, because we were friends with Denise. A question for you, it's sort of speculative. What do you think Willy Wonka would have done with the factory had Charlie not given back the gobstopper?
Yeah, giving it to Rusty. The Oompa Loompas would have taken over the world.
I thought about that too, yeah.
Would Charlie had plans for the future of the chocolate factory?
I think Charlie, at this day and age, he'd be having problems with contracts with the Oompa Loompa. OSHA would have stepped in. That would have been difficult. So, I don't know. You know, it could have been a little shaky there.
And that's why you became a veterinarian. All right, let's get a couple more questions. Again, they're going to be back up here about 1 o'clock this afternoon as well, and we'll do some more questions and we'll talk to the cast. Let's get a couple more questions right on over here.
Thank you. It's amazing to see all of you. Me and my fiance are here. We're excited about the chocolate, but we're here for you today. Willy Wonka's my favorite movie of all time. The soundtrack is amazing, and I've sang it my whole life. But my question was, did you all meet Roald Dahl? Was he involved? Did you have experiences with him, and how was that?
So good question. So Roald Dahl was on set initially when we started filming, and he is credited for writing the screenplay. He became disenfranchised with the film very quickly, and ended up not writing the screenplay. So we did meet Roald Dahl, but I think it's very difficult with a person like him as an author to have the imagination that he had, and then to actually meet Charlie, Veruca, Mike TeeVee. You know, probably a difficult transition. So maybe you'd like to talk a little bit more about who actually wrote the screenplay.
Roald Dahl, as any creative, didn't want to let control go and didn't want to make changes. I mean, he objected to the word regular being used. He wrote a really vehement letter about using the word regular because that wasn't English. So he walked early on, and we just started filming. We didn't know any of this until about a year ago. And he walked off the set, and Mel Stewart and David Wolper were then deeply embarrassed because they had this whole thing going on and a crew, and they had no scriptwriter to make any changes. So they rang, Mel Stewart rang a guy called David Seltzer that he'd worked with on documentaries. They'd made documentaries about insects or something. And David Seltzer had always wanted to be a screenwriter, and Mel said, well, here's your chance. We'll fly you out to Germany tomorrow, coach, and you won't be credited, but, you know, do you want the job? And so David Seltzer did, and they flew him out to Germany, and they locked him in a hotel, and he was literally locked in a hotel room and kind of made to write, you know, new pages, new dialogue. And then they finally released him, and David Seltzer's next project was The Omen. So he did get to be a screenwriter. About the funny story, maybe it's a good one to end on, maybe if we're about to end. So David Seltzer was released. He flew back, and he had a cabin in Maine or somewhere, and he was exhausted after this process. I think he was only about 30, 32 at the time. And he'd gone to his cabin in Maine, and there was nothing there, you know, this is pre-mobile phones. There was a red telephone on a tree in the forest that was to report forest fires, just this red phone. So David Seltzer is at his cabin, and the phone starts ringing. So he answered it, and they said, this is the fire department, we're looking for David Seltzer. And he said, well, that's me. And they said, oh, we've got a call for you from a Mr. Mel Stewart in Bavaria Film Studios. Will you take it? So I don't think it was collect. Probably, though, knowing Mel Stewart. So he took the call, and Mel said, we're here, we're filming the last scene, and you've got the word yippee. We can't end a movie with the line yippee. I need a last line now. So he said, okay, give me 2 minutes. So he went down to the lake, he thought about it, and he thought, well, this is how everybody wants the movie to end. And so he came back with the immortal last line, but Charlie, remember what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he wanted? He lived happily ever after. That was the last line.
And a great line. Let me quickly, because we're going to wrap up really quick. Rusty, briefly, what was your favorite scene in the movie?
My favorite scene is everyone I'm in it.
Yes. And I think a lot of people will agree to that, right? Julie, what about you?
All sorts, but I love all the little vignettes. I love watching them, and I love that woman that says, how long have I got to think it over? I love her.
Paris?
The chocolate room, the exploding candy, and the Wonka wash foam all over me, all the foam.
And Peter?
And I have to say, the first time that I saw the film was Veruca's song, was Julie's song. I was blown away by that.
So, yeah. So that's great music in that as well. All right, everybody, let's give a big hand to the original cast of 1971, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And again, they'll be back about 1 o'clock up here and taking more questions.